So, Anatomy of a Fall is a mystery. Well, it's kind of more of a courtroom drama for the most part. But it's a film that centers entirely around someone's death after falling out of a window. Now, the person who fell out the window is Samuel Voiter, played by Samuel Thesis. I think that's Samuel Theus. And his murder is not, well, it's suspected that he might have been murdered by his wife, Sandra, played by Sandra Hüller. And here's the thing, like, we don't see the death actually happen. Like, we see the setup here where we see that we see that Sandra is a novelist who's living in like this snowy French region with her son, who is partially blind. Her son is Daniel, and Daniel decides to go out for a walk with his dog while Sandra has just kind of finished up recording an interview, while her husband was just like blaring his music, and just, you know, they have as the film goes along, it shows that, yeah, they had a very bitter relationship with their conflicts about their career, and about moving, and about how to raise their son, and about how to handle his education. And they just kind of came to blows with each other. And then, you know, after Daniel goes out for a walk, he returns home, and his dad is just lying there dead in the snow. And the police arrive, and they try to, they try to figure out what was going on. And it's suspected that Sandra was the murderer in this case. So it's basically, the rest of the film is Sandra trying to prove that she was innocent and that she had nothing to do with the murder. So for the most part, like, this is like a courtroom drama, but I love the way that the film plays with the idea of deciding whether or not she was innocent. Because, like, I don't quite want to say it's like a murder mystery, because, like, there is no, like, grand reveal where you see, where, you know, like, they have like a flashback and they show you what actually happened, in that event where Samuel died. But I love that, because then it forces the audience to kind of like decide whether or not Sandra was innocent through all this. So you're constantly paying attention to, her testimony, all the details that are revealed, all like the recorded conversations between Sandra and Samuel. And you're just staring at that, staring at everything here, trying to piece it all together. And a lot of credit goes to Justine Triet doing the direction here. And I love the way that that the film is shot in the courtroom, because there's several moments where the camera is kind of like placed directly in the audience, and there's like a little bit of like blocking from some other people in the courtroom. So you really feel like, you are in that situation yourself, kind of like judging Sandra when she's up there, trying to like make her case in front of a courtroom. The same goes for like, when like they bring Daniel into the equation. You feel like you gravitate a little bit more with Daniel, like he has a little bit more of a grasp on the situation, especially when Daniel tries to basically kind of tries a little bit of his own experiments to see, how this would go down, in addition to like all the other evidence of like recreation that they do. Like they stage like events at the house to see, like, could someone fall from this height, smash into this part of the house and then fall down to their death? Would it make sense with, like, how the blood is here? And they kind of try to make their case here, and like the investigation keeps going further and further and further. And I love that it doesn't end on like a perfect resolve. Like, I mean, it feels like, like for the most part, you spend most of the film with Sandra and her lawyer Vincent. And you feel like she is, you feel like, like either she is innocent here, or there's going to be like some big twist where they prove her innocent, and then it's secretly revealed that she was behind the murder. But there's no like clear motive here. Like the way that the film ends, a lot of people have like this debatable discussion of whether or not Sandra murdered her husband in this situation, given all the motive, given all the evidence here. And yet, the way it ends, it ends in a way where it feels like Sandra could either be innocent or guilty from like the way it plays out at the end here, with just this kind of like almost almost this kind of like this restful nature by the end of it, where you're just you're just relieved that like you're just relieved that the investigation is over. Because like it's like such a grueling experience. Like you see like the media circus, you see like the conflicts with the family, the way that like Daniel gets like torn apart from Sandra and all this, and how they have how they have conflict with each other. Like it's probably one of the most fascinating courtroom films that I've seen in quite a long time. Like I think I did mention like one of my favorite films last year was Argentina in 1985, because I liked that. I really liked that courtroom drama because it was expertly directed. It's perfectly paced, where you get to know enough about the characters. As a real life courtroom case, I loved Argentina 1985. But for Anatomy of a Fall, as a fictionalized courtroom drama, it's brilliant because it doesn't like give you like the perfect answer. Like you're not placed within any one side of who you're rooting for here, and it's kind of, you know, like it's debatable here. Like, you know, I'm sure like, you know, if you go through the film like 2 or 3 more times, you might be able to like piece everything together here. It's like, aha, I have figured out who the murderer is. But I love the way that the film just kind of like lingers on the moments that you might not think about as much in the trial here, like the way that Daniel remains separated, you know, to remove like any influence or bias that he might have in the courtroom at that time. In addition to that, just the way that Sandra forms her relationship with Vincent has you questioning a little bit of her motives as well, in a way where you know you're kind of fascinated by how Sandra maneuvers her way through this, especially with how she just kind of like jumps between languages. Like she goes between like French and English a few times, which is, you know, which is fascinating because like it's almost kind of like you feel like she's going into like a certain mode, the way that she like transfers like that way, just like kind of like almost effortlessly in the courtroom, that you're kind of like just leaning in a little bit more, trying to figure out what is going through her head. It's like, if she is innocent, is this you know, tactic working, or, you know, if she's trying to, you know, get away with murder here, like, is she doing enough here to clear her name of all this? So it's just like a fascinating mystery that doesn't have like a concrete answer, and a very ambiguous ending to it all, that I could not stop thinking about, especially with Sandra Hüller's performance is just fantastic in this, because like she really does have to walk this tightrope of, you know, not making it clear what her real intentions were in all of this, and making her very believable within that courtroom setting. And I think, you know, like I said, the way it's shot, like where you're kind of like feels like you're in the peanut gallery here trying to judge yourself, it really helps that, like, you know, Sandra Hüller is up there trying to like make her best case for a woman that you're not too sure about. And on that level, like, her performance is just amazing in this. In addition to, like, you know, a little bit of credit also for the son Daniel, played by Milo Mercado Graner. And just his performance is just great too, because he has just as much, you know, like fear about, you know, proving innocence here, and, you know, looking out for the safety of others as much as his mother does. That you kind of feel like that there is a connection between them, as well as a bit of distrust that is going on. So just an amazingly fascinating film, and just fantastic performances, expertly shot, and just the way that it intrigues throughout with a mystery with no like 100% clear answer by the end. It's just such a brilliant film.